Kidem gor az jam. Gukan. Which is gonna be how? Oh, are we starting? Okay. Has it started? Oh, okay. Welcome everyone. We're going to start in about 1 or 2 minutes. 1 or 2 minutes we're going to start. So again, welcome everyone. Please be sure that you have all filled out the little slip for the raffle ticket. You've gotten the handouts and a label. All right, let me go grab one handout too. Hello, it's Resik. Hello. Oh, hi. Show the egg. Be discussing. Hi. All right. Please feel free to get some seats on this side if you like. Thank you, Variaga. Kokon bas digner. Katsik bor. Ose shat jawaz bidala mar pidikan. Ayo pai chona garna kertal. Urvor gozek. Urvor gozek. Honal garnak nae. Ya honal ga.
Okay, you want to start? Okay. Let's find our seats. Let's take a seat and we're gonna start. Okay, all right. Welcome everyone to our nutrition workshop about understanding how to read food labels. So Vivian Matosian, she's a registered dietitian and certified diabetes care and education specialist with 33 years of experience. She received her Bachelor's of Science degree from California State University, LA, and her Master of Science degree in Nutritional Science from the University of Southern California. Almost done. She provides medical nutrition therapy for all ages, so this is for everyone, on various chronic diseases, specializing in diabetes, cardiovascular disease, digestive disorders, and obesity. So without further ado, let me call Vivian up.
Thank you, everyone. Good evening, everyone. I'm very glad to see all of you. And today is, this month is National Nutrition Month. But did you know what else it is? It's also Peanut Butter Lovers Month and Potato Chip Month. But I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to be talking about understanding how to read labels so that you can make healthier food choices. Reading labels can be very confusing. How many of you think it's confusing? Right? It could be confusing. But it's a very practical skill for everyone to learn. So I'm going to try to simplify it today by focusing on the most important terms. So you should all have this handout in front of you. And this is going to contain all the main points that I will be addressing today. There will be lots of numbers, okay, but I want you to feel certain that it's all there. So we're going to do a lot of practicing. That's why you should all have packages in front of you. So you can kind of practice on your own food package as we go along. So how many people read labels? How many of you read labels? All right, what are you looking for on the label? What else? Carbohydrate, oils, right? So everybody needs to look at labels, because you first need to know what's in your food, right? What's in your food. And depending on your health concern, you may be looking for foods lower in calories, fat, saturated fat, carbs, sodium, right? Lots of different things. And some of you may even be looking at other nutrients such as protein, potassium, and so on. But those are a little bit more complicated. We're not going to get into protein and potassium. We're going to focus on the most important things to look at. All right. So in 2021, food labels got a makeover. In other words, the information on the labels had to be updated. And you will see here, the nutrition facts is the place where you're going to find all the information. And this is all the information that is required on a package. We're not going to go through all of them because then it's going to get complicated. As I said, we're going to try to simplify it. And at the end of the presentation, you may say, wow, that was a lot of information. That's why you have the handout. And what you can do is take a picture of it. You have it on your phone. So when you're shopping, right, you have it right there. You're not going to be calling your spouse or your parent, hey, is this a good product or not? Okay, so you have it right there. So what are we going to be focusing on? We're going to be focusing on serving size. We're going to be focusing on calories, total fat, sodium, carbohydrates. This is what we're going to be talking about today. So let's go ahead and start. The first thing you look for is the nutrition facts section. And as I'm doing this, you can look at your own product. Okay, so you can kind of follow along. Nutrition facts. So find the nutrition facts on your own package and then look for the serving size. The serving size is important because the information is going to be based on that serving size. So you can see in this example, the serving size is 1 cup, okay? And the calories are 280. So if you ate 2 cups, what would you do? Double the calories, right? That would be 560 calories. So you need to know what is the serving size. Oftentimes people go straight to the calories. But maybe they're eating double the portion, right? And they're thinking, oh, 280, that's nothing. But they're eating 3 times the amount. So you need to look at the serving size, very important. And keep in mind that the serving size is not the recommended size. It's not the size that you have to eat. You can eat half of it, right? Like lots of candy packages. It'll say 3 candies, 4 candies, but you don't have to eat 4 candies. You can eat 1, right? Hopefully you're eating only 1, right? All right. So serving size, very important to look. So has everybody found the serving size on your own package? Very important to look to find that. All right. How do I know if a food is low in fat? This is now very important. So first thing you want to do is you're going to be looking at the calories and the fat. Not just the fat by itself and not just the calories by itself, the two together. The rule of thumb, a low-fat food contains 3 grams of fat or less for every 100 calories. So you'll see here a quick tip. If it's 100 calories, 3 grams of fat. 200 calories, 6 grams of fat. 300 calories, 9 grams of fat. All you do is take the first number of 100, 1, multiply by 3. 1 times 3, 3. If it was 400 calories, what should be the maximum fat? 4 times 3, 12, right? I think, do you guys need to, go back to math class? I'm kidding. All right. So, and a lot of this stuff, honestly, you can teach to kids and grandchildren. I taught some of this stuff, not as complicated, but some of this simple stuff I would teach in my kids' classes as young as 7 years old. And the kids loved learning how to read labels. They got more educated than their family members because they were interested in knowing, is this food good or not? Okay, So let's take a look at this product here. 320 calories, you round it to the nearest 100. 300, right? And for 300, what should be the maximum fat? 9. 3 times 3, 9. Just take the first number, 3 times 3, 9. And it has 12. So what do you think? Low or high? High, right? So you would say high. Now, it's not to say you can never eat a high-fat food, but you need to be aware, is this high-fat or not? All right? So then you can say that, oh, I'm eating something that's high-fat, so maybe I'll eat something that's low-fat. Or maybe I'm just going to put this back on the shelf and get something else. Okay? All right. So has everybody looked at their own package? Are you able to figure out, is your product low-fat or high-fat? Would anybody like to share a product that's high in fat?
Oh,
Yes, go ahead. Tell us what your product. Stand up and show us your product.
beef patty.
Okay. Serving size?
Serving size, one patty.
Okay.
8 grams of fat.
Okay, what did he miss?
The calories.
Calories.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
170 calories.
So what are you going to round 170 to? 200. What should be the maximum fat? 6. And this is?
8.
Okay, so we know that this is a little high fat. But a little bit. But we're going to find products that are worse than that. Much worse than that. Okay? So go ahead.
I'm shocked.
Okay, go ahead.
Stand up, stand up.
Stand up, please.
I thought it was just okay. So it's serving size is 1 bar, 180 calories,
So you're going to round it to 200. What should be the maximum fat? 6.
There's 15 grams of fat.
Okay, all right. So hold on to that because we're going to get to that in a minute. There are some products that are high in fat, but may still be healthy. Okay? But very good example there. All right. Okay. So, all right, everybody clear. 100 to 3. So if something is 500 calories, what should be the maximum fat? Quick. 500 calories? 5 times 3? 15. 570 calories? 18. Very good. Very good. You see, you got it. Very good. All right. Hopefully you won't take my job though, right? All right. So let's continue. Guess what this product is? The serving size is a quarter cup, 200 calories, 19 grams of fat. What could this product be?
Butter.
Chips.
Butter.
Any other guesses from that side? That side's too quiet. Oh, my good friend guessed it. Nuts. All right? So this could be walnuts, it could be almonds, it could be pretty much any kind of nuts. Almonds, walnuts, nuts are very high in fat. So you can see, for 200 calories, what should be the fat? 6, right? And this is 19. So it's very high in fat. But it's healthy fat, right? So, but if you say that this is healthy, this is healthy, this is healthy, right? What's going to end up happening? You could be 400 pounds and full of healthy fat. You're still 400 pounds. So the bottom line is, it's not just get foods that are healthy fat, but you need to watch portion sizes. So what is a quarter cup? Anybody know what a quarter cup is? A palm size, right? 10, 15 nuts. Not a jar of nuts. Now, if you're trying to gain weight, nuts is a great snack. It's a great way to gain weight. Nuts, because they're healthy fat, and you buy the unsalted, so you don't get the salt. But nuts is a great fat, and it's great to gain weight on nuts, just like avocado is. Very healthy fat, but full of fat. Okay? So quarter cup. So for people, for example, who have diabetes, instead of grabbing a fruit, a chips, a pretzel, a small palmful of nuts is a great snack because it won't raise blood sugars, but it'll keep you full. Okay? For those who are trying to lose weight, again, a small palmful of nuts is a great snack because nuts have fat. Fat sits in your stomach and it keeps you full. Versus a fruit, chips, these are digested very fast, leave the stomach, now you're hungry again. Okay? So even if you ate a fruit, combining it with a palmful of nuts is much better than just eating the fruit by itself. All right. Which yogurt are good choices? So I've tried to include, the Lebni is not in here yet. Okay? So I've tried to include some Armenian, Middle Eastern food. So which of these would you say is the best choice? Take a look at the numbers at the bottom. So take a look here. So if we look at it here, the first one, 170 calories, you round it to 200. What should be the maximum fat? 6. And it has,
Okay, good. It's not bad.
all right, maximum 6. It's a little bit. It's a little bit high. All right. Now remember though, this is 1.5 teaspoons of fat, not healthy fat, pure butter. Okay? All fat in animal products, milk, cheese, yogurt, all butter. All right? So it's not the same fat as nuts. Let's take a look at the second one, the low fat. 130 calories, you round it to 100. What should be the maximum fat? 3, and it has 2.5. So it's reasonable. So you can make your, margin of kofta with these, right? You can make your food with, the lower fat, yogurts. What about the fat-free yogurt here? 110 calories, you round it to 100. The maximum fat should be 3, and this is 0, right?
Are you
So,
taking questions or not yet?
sure.
Okay. So we know that when it becomes low fat, the sugar can be more.
Very maybe 1 or 2 or 3 grams. Insignificant. You are right. Some products, with the dairy products, when it's a little lower in fat, they may add 1 or 2 grams of carb or sugar. Insignificant. Ignore it. The fat is more critical. Okay? Now, we're not talking about a low-fat dessert, okay, where they reduce the fat and add a lot of carbs. We're not talking about that. We're talking about in dairy products primarily. Okay? Even if you look at non-fat milk, you'll notice non-fat milk has 1 or 2 grams of extra sugar compared to whole milk. But it's the fat that causes heart disease. And remember, we're talking about saturated artery clogging fat. All right. Here are 4 different kinds of milk. So I kind of already mentioned this. Now, let's take a look at each one of these. All dairy milk have the same nutrition. Okay. The difference is what? The fat. Okay. So let's take a look at the first one here. Whole milk, 160 calories, and this is for 8 ounce. Now, I bring some of these examples because a lot of people don't know necessarily what 8 ounce is. And I have people coming into my office and they'll tell me, oh, a small cup, and then they show me this. I'm like, I got to keep a straight face, oh. And that's the advantage of doing Zoom, because they will see my face. I'm like, oh my God, what are you doing? So 160 calories, 10 grams of fat. What should be the maximum fat for 160? You round it to 200, should be 6. And this is 10. Remember, 10. That's pure butter. Okay? What's this 10 pounds? That means that if you were to drink this 8 ounce glass of milk every day, whole milk every day, you would gain 10 pounds of weight a year. This is my buddy. I don't travel without this. How many pounds of fat is this? 5 pounds of fat. I better move on this side so people on the other side of the screen, they can see it. 5 pounds. You see that on the other side? 5 pounds of fat. So 10 pounds of fat from 1 cup of whole milk a day, every day. All right? Now let's take a look at the next one. 2% milk. 140 calories, 5 grams of fat. What do you think? So if you round it to 100, it would be 3. If you're really one of those mathematicians and you say, I really want to be accurate, you round it to 150, it should be 4.5. So it's not bad, but that's still about 5 pounds of weight. That's 1 teaspoon of butter. So that's your handy dandy 5 pounds. So I'm going to pass this around so you can feel it. Could be here, could be here, could be here, right? Unfortunately, it doesn't go to where the areas that we want to go, right? So that's why when men gain weight, where do they gain?
Belly.
That's why they're called apple-shaped. And when women gain weight, where do they gain it? Hips, right. Unfortunately, in the menopausal years, the fat in women starts to shift to the stomach, so now they become an avocado shape, right? So, because I'm there now too. All right, so 130 calories. This is the 1% milk. 130 calories, you round it to 100. What should be the maximum fat? 3, and this is 2.5. All right, 2.5 grams. So this is basically, you're looking at, it's about a half a teaspoon of butter. So as you notice what you're doing, we're getting less and less and less and less. Now, it's very difficult. People say, oh, non-fat milk is water, right? Because you cannot go from 2 teaspoons of butter to 0. So you do baby steps, baby steps. You can mix milks together. So from whole milk to 2%, you can mix the 2 milks together. 50%, 50%. And then from 2%, then you switch 2%, 1%, 50-50. And I would suggest that if you have family members who have difficulty in changing the type of milk or food, Jack, one of them, but spouses, kids are sometimes difficult. But I always say is that what you do is that you take, for example, the 2% milk, when it's halfway done, you get the 1%, mix it into the 2%. You throw the 1% out into the trash outside, right? So nobody knows that you've just mixed in 1%. So family members, they're drinking it and they have no clue. Okay, and it's very different very little difference between the 2% and 1%. Okay, very easy. Anybody using the 1%? Yes.
What's the 2% or 1%? What does that mean?
It means it's the amount of fat, that's in. The regular is usually about 3.5%. It's 3.5 by weight. Yeah. It doesn't mean like it's 3.5%. Yeah, I don't know. It's complicated, but it's mainly by weight. 3.5% of the liquid weight is fat, which sounds like nothing. Really sounds like nothing. All right. So let's move on. What are saturated fats and trans fats? How many of you have heard of these terms? Right? Most people have heard these terms. So saturated fats are solid and thick at room temperature. So butter, stick margarine, coconut oil, skin of poultry, fat in beef, all the white that you see around beef, the little dots in salami, bologna, cheese. All right. And what are trans fats? Trans fats are made when hydrogen is added, to a liquid. This is done in a laboratory. So for example, that's how they make margarine. You take an oil, you add hydrogen to it, you heat it up, and now you've thickened it. Okay, so you made a margarine. The advantage of thickening it is that now you can spread it on a bread, right? The advantage of the hydrogenation is that it lasts longer in the refrigerator or, on the shelf. It lasts longer. But the problem is that these trans fats, which you can see added in so many different things, both of these saturated fats and trans fats raise your LDL cholesterol. Who knows what LDL cholesterol is? All right. Who knows what it stands for? Low density lipoprotein. What's an easy way to remember it? I heard somebody saying it. Not lazy, but lousy. Very good. Lousy is for L, the bad one. HDL is the good one. H for healthy. One time I walked into a class and I had 4 nuns in the room. I thought, I better use the word holy. H for holy, right? Maybe I'll score some points there, All right, so what is this? Right there, Lucy got it. This is a nice clean artery. At the birth, you have a nice clean artery. All right? Oops. Wait, you didn't see that. All right, what's the top one? Clogged artery. And what you notice is that, right, over time, the opening becomes smaller and smaller, right? This is basically getting narrowed. Your artery can get almost 95% clogged before you even know it. All right? And here is the same artery with a blood clot. So if this blood clot occurs in your heart, it's a heart attack. If it occurs in your brain, and if it happens, it could even happen in your legs. So many people, they get examined, they're looking for circulation in the legs. If you have clogging in your legs, which have large arteries, you definitely have clogging in your heart. Because the artery blood vessels the blood vessels in your heart are much smaller. So if you have clogging in your large vessels, chances are you definitely have it in your small vessels because it takes much longer for it to accumulate in the large vessels. All right, now, can we reverse this?
No, not completely.
Not completely, right? Not completely. It all depends, right? We can't. And you, again, as I said, you may not even feel anything. All right, this is where you're going to find those saturated fats and trans fats. This is what we're going to focus on in the next few minutes. All right, how much fat and saturated fat should I get? Right? You don't have to memorize this. It's all there in your handout. So for most women who are trying to lose weight, somewhere between 12 to 1400 calories. Okay? Total fat basically is somewhere between 40 to 50 grams a day, total fat, and the saturated fat under 16 grams. Now, are you going to know how much you're having? No, unless you're keeping track on MyFitnessPal or Lose It. You're not going to know. All right. But this is to be aware that if I pick up a product, and some of you have products, and you see a product that has 10 grams of fat, you have to be aware, well, that's already a big chunk of my day, 10. If I'm supposed to have 40, and I got 10 in this product. All right. So for men, 1,800 to 2,000 calories is pretty much kind of the general recommendation for weight loss. 60 to 65 grams of total fat, and then here less than 22 grams of saturated fat. If this is starting to get complicated, focus on the total fat. Because if the total fat in your food is low, the saturated fat will be low with it. Okay? All right, so let's take a look about plant-based meats. Become very popular, right? So here are 3 different brands of plant-based meats. 4 ounces is basically the portion size we're going to be comparing. 4 ounces when shrunk, you lose an ounce when you cook. So that's about 3 ounces. What is about 3 ounces? 3 ounces is about this size, a patty, 1 patty, or about a deck of cards. That's about 3 ounces. Oops. Okay. So let's compare these 3 products here. You have the Beyond Burger and the Impossible Burger. Both of them claim 33% less fat or 35% less fat. But remember that they are comparing it to regular ground beef, which is 20% fat. But you guys know there's different types of ground beef, right? It's not just 20%. Most people don't buy 20% ground beef anymore. All right, so they're comparing it to the highest fat ground beef. That's deception number 1. So let's take a look at these 3. Basically about the same calories, not that much different. Total fat, let's take a look at these. So let's take a look at each one of these. The first one, 230 calories. What are you going to round it to? What should be the maximum fat? And it has 14. What do you think? Very high fat. Okay, next one. The second one, 230, 206, right? Okay. 210 calories. Pretty much all should be about 6, and you notice they're all high. All right. And look at the saturated fat. Now you're wondering, okay, all right, where is the saturated fat in these products coming from? If it's not a beef, it's not real meat, where is it getting its saturated fat from? Look right here, coconut oil. What did we just say in the previous slide? Coconut oil, palm oil, or saturated fats. So let me show you here these 2 products. Saturated, this is palm oil. Where does it come from? Palm trees, right? So you're going to say this is a plant product, but it's still fat. And look at it. It doesn't move. Right? Coconut. So I'll pass these around. You can probably store them all at the end over there. Where did my 5-pound fat go? I don't want anybody to leave with that. All right? All right? So pass that around. All right. So coconut oil is where it's coming from. And what do you think they add to give it the red color? This is a very, whoever thinks of this, no, this is you have to be super smart if you know this one. Where do they get the color? Beet and pomegranate. Beet or pomegranate juice, yeah. Or concentrate. That's what they add to give it the coloring. All right, so let's take a look at here, continuing on. Here you have the Morning Star. Morning Star was one of the first vegetarian products that came out. Okay, the first. So, and then we have here ground beef ground turkey here. And both of these are the 93% fat-free, because this is what most people are now moving towards. So let's take a look at the first one here. So you'll see here, in order to compare 4 ounces, this is actually, it's 1.5 patties to make it equivalent to 4 ounces here. 4.5 fat. So what should be the the calories for 150? You round up, remember in math, 5 or more round up, should be 6, and this is 4.5. And notice 0 saturated fat. Look at the ground beef now. 170, what do you round it to? 200, maximum fat 6, and this is 8. A little higher, but not as high as 14 on the plant-based. Okay, and the saturated fat definitely a little lower. And here is ground turkey. 160, rounded to 200, maximum fat 6, pretty much similar to the ground beef, a little lower in saturated fat. All right, so in reality, a lot of people are thinking, I'm going to eat the plant-based meats, they're going to be healthier, but they're actually much higher in saturated fat, which is artery clogging. Okay, who's disappointed? Nobody eats plant-based, everybody's eating ground turkey, ground beef, right? Okay. All right, so let's continue here. How much trans fat should I have? All right, basically the FDA has not established a safe amount. So they say you should get products that say 0 grams of trans fat. But of course, food companies, they find a loophole. If the product has less than 0.5 grams of trans fat, they can claim 0. Okay? So how are you going to know if the product actually has trans fat if it says 0? Every product you look at is 0. Every product. But that doesn't mean that there's no trans fat. So what are you going to look for in the ingredient list to know if there's trans fat? The word partially hydrogenated oil. That's the secret word that you must know. Partially hydrogenated oil. Okay? This means trans fat. Partially hydrogenated oil means trans fat. Where are you going to find trans fat? Lots of baked goods, cookies, creamers, lots of things, right? It doesn't mean you're never going to eat it, but it means just be aware. Okay? Be aware. All right. You look at this ice cream. What does this, when you see this, what's the impression you get? What do you assume? All right, low carb, it's healthy. So let's take a look at it. So let's examine more closely here. Serving size 1 bar, calories 180, you round it to 200, 6, saturated, total fat 15, right? Total fat 15. Where is it getting its fat from? Look, milk fat, basically whole milk, and look at partially hydrogenated oil. That's why, look, it's loaded with saturated fat. So you're thinking, I'm getting a low-carb product, okay? Yes, it is lower in carb, but is this going to protect your heart? No, right? Everybody's trying to go towards lower carb, but remember that if you're going to really compare 2 products, you're not going to look at just the carb. You want to look at the other ingredients, because oftentimes they reduce the carb, they add fat. It's always like, and they don't add good fat, they add artery clogging fat. Okay? So if you're going to compare, a low carb to a regular, you need to look at that, okay, this is lower in carb, but they're not compensating by adding more, fat. They could add more protein, which is good, and they do that, but not extra a lot of fat. So look at here, the daily saturated fat limit for women, 13 to 16. So look at this. This product is already 10. Okay? So even if you don't remember anything about saturated fats, you can just evaluate the product by knowing that this is high fat. Right? Even if you didn't take the extra step in looking at saturated fat. So it's not so smart, right? All right. Peanut butters. All right. Oh, question, yes.
So when you say fat and saturated fat, Does the fat include the saturated fat? So it's like 10
Yes.
saturated fat and only $5 fat, or it's like
No, it's
5 fat?
no, it's in addition. It's in addition. So it's the 15 grams is total 15 grams. So not in this example here. Not in this example. In general, the total fat is explaining all the different fats. And then the saturated real fat would be separate. And actually, this one here, actually I made it, let me see here. Let me think here. No. I'm sorry. Let me clarify here. Good question. So the total fat is 15 grams. Out of the 15, 10 of it is saturated fat. Yes. Yeah. So the total fat is all fat. And so out of all 15, 10 of it is already saturated. Okay, very good question. All right. So avoid hydrogenated or palm oils because these are saturated and artery clogging fats. All right, so let's take a look at here. 3 different peanut butters here, right? Popular brands. All right, and take a look. Hydrogenated vegetable oil, palm oil, palm oil. So what do you think? Right? No, right. If you came to my office, you would see about 12 jars of peanut butter. Why do you think I have so much? Because people bring in different peanut butters and, oh, this is healthy. And each time they bring in, what happens over time, companies, they change the logos. So they think that, oh, this is the healthier, and they keep bringing the wrong one. So people, when they walk by my office, like the doctors, wow, what's all that peanut butter you're doing? You know, I go, because that's the most. I go, I'm advertising. These are all the wrong peanut butters to buy, right? So luckily now that people have, phones. And so when my family is in the supermarket and they're asking, should I buy this one? Right? I just send them a picture. This is what you get, right? All right. So let's look at it. So, yes. All jelly peanut butters have hydrogenated oil. Sorry. You always buy the peanut butter separate from the jelly. You never buy together. Yes.
Do you know of a peanut butter that's good for you that you don't have to stir?
No, doesn't exist. I'll explain. Okay, so doesn't exist. So buy nut butters that have only nuts as the first ingredient. So look at here. You see this Trader Joe's unsalted almond butter or peanut butter. It doesn't have to be Trader Joe's. I particularly like Trader Joe's because it blends well. It blends well. So let me show you. So some of you already know this trick. You take the peanut butter and turn it upside down. Everybody see that? Turn it upside down. Then what do you do?
Don't open it yet.
Give it a good shake. Give it a good shake. If you need to, Alec mentioned last month with the cardiology, he was talking about walking, dancing, whatever. Burn some calories, right? You shake it. And then what do? Store it in the refrigerator upside down. Very important. Overnight, the peanut butter and the oil will blend. So in the morning, you open it. Voila! Right? It's for the almond butter as well. There may be a little bit of oil, but it's not going to be like this, right? Well, you can't see. I kind of mixed it right now. But you'll see a lot less oil. And you're not going to stir it and it becomes a mess everywhere, right? So you just take a knife and then you just stir it lightly. Then you use it and then what do? Upside down. Now, one thing I want to caution you.